Hey, good morning, guys. I'm doing November 11th. Sorry, it's the 12th. I was a day late. But the interesting thing is this particular passage and story um, from yesterday, the 11th, in Genesis 22 about Abraham sacrificing Isaac, is exactly what the conversation turned to yesterday on the 11th when we were in our morning Bible study, Tuesday morning Bible study. So it's really interesting. The idea of faith was brought up, and Abraham's faith to the point of sacrificing his son Isaac um, was part of the discussion. And so the scripture is familiar to us, but take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah, sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about. And so, and we discussed yesterday how that even happens, that someone would get to the point where they didn't question what they just heard from God. And I said, with Abraham in particular, yesterday we were talking about this. With Abraham in particular, he had heard from God, he believed, he obeyed, and then it was confirmed. He heard from God, he believed, he obeyed, and then it was confirmed. And each time he heard from God and obeyed, and what God said happened, um, each time it became more and more apparent to him that he wasn't God, and that he was hearing from God, and that he better listen. And well, when I say he better listen, he's better off when he listens and obeys. And so that's why Abraham is held up on this, obviously, on this kind of pedestal of faith. It's still tricky. It's still hard to believe that Abraham wouldn't have discussed with Sarah or with somebody else or challenged God at all. Because we see him challenging God with Sodom and Gomorrah, in the as he intercedes for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. He kind of challenges God, pushes back, and so he doesn't hear though. Chambers talks about it like this, and he says to climb to the height God shows can never be done presently. Presently meaning, I'll do that presently means at some point in the near future, is what he means by that. It must be done now. Abraham rose the next morning. God called him. He said, do this. Abraham rose the next morning and went. The sacrifice is gone through in will before it is performed actually. It means that, and what Chambers means here is that the extent to which we will sacrifice has already been determined prior to the call. God calls us, and we act because we've already laid down our will prior to this, and the sacrifice is just carrying through or seeing through what we've already done in our will, which is to say, Lord, your will, not mine, be done. It's Jesus in the garden. Your will, not mine, be done. When God spoke, he did, and this is a really interesting point. I underlined this from previous years. When God spoke, he did not confer with flesh and blood. Abraham did not confer with flesh and blood. Beware when you want to confer with flesh and blood. If you know God's speaking, the worst thing you can do is to confer with flesh and blood. If you've tested God and he's tested you, and he speaks, then what Chambers is saying here is don't give yourself an out. Don't test your own will. If your will has already been laid down and he says do, then you do. He says don't confer with flesh and blood, i.e. your own sympathies, your own insight, anything that's not based on your personal relationship to God. These are the things that compete with and hinder obedience to God. They compete with obedience. The other thing that's really interesting is, the Chambers points out, is Abraham did not choose the sacrifice. Always guard against self-chosen service for God. Self-sacrifice may be a disease. Choosing your sacrifice. And my notes from an earlier reading of this is the rich young ruler. He said, I've been obedient. And God says, okay, Jesus says, here's what I need you to do. I need you to sell all that you own, give to the poor, and then follow me. And it says he went away sad because he had chosen how much he would do, and that was not part of it. That's a tricky one for us because we like to think that we are sacrificing so much and we're doing so much. Oh, you do so much. I hate that. I hate it when people says, "Oh, people say, oh," and I know they mean it, and I know they mean it. They mean good by it. Um, you do so much, and I've written before, and I don't know if I've said it on here before, but you don't know the level of, you don't know the debt that he paid for me, and you don't know. I can't remember. I wrote it down one time because someone said that, and I thought, yeah, that's. I don't want to take that and I don't want to internalize that. I do so much because that's what Chambers has said. Says, be careful not to choose your own sacrifice. God will choose something totally different. God is working for His highest ends until His purpose and man's purpose become one. Is the way Chambers wraps it up here. So, um, yeah, I think the one thing that to me is a reminder um, is to lay down my will so that when God calls and makes the hard challenge, it's already resolved. It's already done. I don't have to. I don't have to give it thought. I just do. So, you guys have an awesome day.